The continental European boxing scene these days seems to be somewhat underrated, especially when it comes to the lighter weight categories. But with skilled and experienced boxers, it's got all the same excitement and flash as any other regional scene. Fighting on the 16th of December are some of the most experienced boxers from Spain and Belgium, respectively. You may not have heard of them before, but that's what we're here to fix. Here's all that led up to this event. Spaniard Southpaw. Sandor Martin Clemente was born on August 22, 1993 in Barcelona, Spain. His family had their roots in neighboring France, and as luck would have it, he was born to a father who already had a chain of boxing gyms in France and Spain. He started training under the auspice of his father at the age of 4, with the understanding that boxing was what he would end up doing later in life professionally. "I've always been passionate about boxing. It's in my blood," said Martin. "My entire life has revolved around it. Thanks to my father's involvement, I've been able to be great in fights, and I always dreamed about being there myself. That day arrived, and I fulfilled one of my dreams." Sandor Martin continued to train and go through life and education for the next decade or so. He couldn't begin a competitive career earlier in life due to the fact that it's illegal in Spain to begin amateur competition in combat sports before the age of 15. Once he reached the age of 15, though, it was on. He would claim in an interview later that he had amassed an amateur record of 25-0-1 by the age of 18. And not only did he become the Spanish national amateur champion within his weight class, he also fought internationally in France, Greece, and Uruguay. Surely, coming up short in honoring his family's boxing pedigree was never an option. And he definitely gave it his all to craft a very respectable record in 3 years of amateur boxing. Following those 3 years, it was decided that he would go pro. He made his professional debut on October 8, 2011, solidifying his bones by scoring a third-round technical knockout victory over Arman Hovsepian at the Pabellón del Bon Pastor in Barcelona, Spain. He maintained an undefeated streak of 15 wins until 2013, when he lost to the Frenchman Alexandre Lepelli on a closely contested decision. Still, he was basically the king of the Spanish superlight division and went on to capture several titles, including the EBU European Union super lightweight title from Samuel Esposito in 2015. Coming to the present day, he's held the European super lightweight title since 2019 after losing it for 2 years at the hands of Sweden's Anthony Gidget. Until his 2022 fight against Teofimo Lopez for the WBO international title, it was one of his most stinging defeats. But 2021 would see him win a shocking upset over Mikey Garcia. He said, "I know my abilities are world class, but I needed the chance to prove it. Mikey Garcia gave me that opportunity, and that's where I believe they made their mistake. I've always said that since I arrived in the US, and it wasn't an act of arrogance, but rather an act of confidence. And I delivered on my promise. I think I had a great performance. We shocked the world with the way in which we defeated Mikey Garcia, being a more complete fighter and showing a very intelligent fight plan. But I believe I'm ready for much more. I'm capable of offering much better fights, and in my next few fights, I'll surprise everyone." And he did surprise everyone when he faced Teofimo Lopez the next year and held out expertly even though he would lose on a split decision in the end. But the results of the fight against Teofimo Lopez remained hotly disputed, with Martin stating that he had won in reality. It wasn't enough for a rematch just yet, although it still may happen. He went on to prove his dominance in his following fight against Arblan Cabo, who he knocked out in the 6th round quite brutally. With such a well-honed ability to score devastating power shots and knockouts, proving himself once again at such an advanced age for a boxer, he squares up to face Muhammad El Markouchi. Molenbeek survivor. Muhammad El Markouchi, also known as Marco, is a professional boxer from Belgium. He was born to Moroccan immigrant parents on March 19, 1988 in Brussels, the capital city of Belgium. Despite the difficulties of growing up as a marginalized immigrant population, his father made it as a karate instructor, and he would coach his son in karate from the age of 6. But at the age of 12, he started to be drawn to a life of petty crime, even facing significant amounts of peer pressure. He resisted for as long as he could, despite the sheer difficulties in staying clean in an insulated community like that. It was also during this time that he would start to take a liking to boxing. In the end, however, it was not only boxing that changed El Markouchi's life and pushed him away from crime. It was also his father. Without intervention, he was set to drop out of school and become a petty criminal, being peer pressured by his friends. El Markouchi was given the most important piece of advice by his father. "So one day I came home and said to my father that I wanted to stop secondary school because I wanted to work. Then my father took me in his car for a drive in the streets of Molenbeek by night and showed me the junkies who were at the corner of each street. He told me, "Is this what you want to become?" El Marcucci recalled. After graduating from high school, he would find clerical work at the office of Van Mauer, the ex-mayor of Brussels. This was what he wanted, as he said. That job was perfect for me because it allowed me to train as I wanted. I was working a lot of extra hours in order to have more days off to train and to fight abroad. His amateur boxing career began during this time, and he began achieving several successes, including a spot in the Belgian national boxing team. While he won several regional titles, he failed to qualify for the 2012 London Olympics, unfortunately. At the same time, he felt suffocated within Belgium on account of his ethnic origin. I was representing a country that never fully accepted me, a country where I had to face a lot of discrimination because of my origin and my background. I always had to prove who I was. People weren't accepting me as a real Belgian. They were always asking me about my origin and referring to it. I was fed up to always having to justify myself, he told Al Arabiya. He made his professional debut in boxing on May 12, 2012, and scored amazing victories over his first two opponents while still fighting out of Belgium. But that didn't feel like enough. Making the decision to move to the US and go pro, he started training in the Fifth Street Gym, immortalized by none other than Muhammad Ali. With all the determination in the world he began, although he would lose his fight in Miami against Jose Resendez. After the fight with Resendez, though, El Marcucci would become a feared prospect, winning one fight after the other with knockouts, TKOs, and unanimous decision victories. He was melting the opponent, and he particularly did a number on many Dominican boxers, chief among them Junior Rodriguez, who he beat up badly in 2015 before sending him home. 2017 would see him fighting in his ancestral Morocco, in a rather widely publicized event against Sharif Quay for the African Boxing Union African Super Light title. His victory signified a milestone for the development of boxing in North Africa as a whole, within the lighter weight categories, and it seems that he had finally found a very supportive fan base in his father's own country. From 2017 till now, he'd only suffered 2 losses, with the most recent one being in 2022 at the hands of Dominican talent Jonathan Alonso. Given the fact that he's only had one fight going all 12 rounds, his upcoming fight with Sandor Martin is going to require him to muster all the strength and skills in his inventory, although the fight being set for 8 rounds could give him the advantage he needs. Nevertheless, he's had a successful career and a heartwarming story of escaping the clutches of Gomorrah back in Belgium to keep him going for the future. Fighters compared. Sandor Martin has made a name for himself as one of the most dynamic boxers to ever come out of Spain. He brings forward a unique approach to the ring with great fight IQ, adapting to different opponents and their varying fighting styles while also remaining insistent on his most valuable skills. He prefers to stay at a distance during his fights, which he maintains by pawing with his right jab and pot shots with a straight left, which often gets credited with many of the knockouts he's managed throughout the course of his career. He manages distance well, but doesn't use a lot of lateral movements, and while he pays attention to defense, it may sometimes be lacking. However, it's his mastery of timing and counterpunching that can often leave power punchers like Muhammad El Marcucci in the danger zone. With El Marcucci, a fight is always a flurry of constant pressure and deft head movement to avoid counterpunching usually. He has no problem swaying side to side when faced with an opponent who has his guard up firmly, as he can always find a way to attack the waist to make standing up difficult. If he can go for a clean shot to deliver, it starts to spell the end. Other than that, his strong right hooks aimed at the head have given him many of his prolific knockout victories. With the lack of lateral movement on Sandor Martin's part, he could quickly overwhelm him with relentless pressure, much like how Italian-American boxer Carmen Basilio defeated Sugar Ray Robinson. Such a kinetic style of fighting relies on him being well-conditioned with enough body stamina reserves to continue putting the energy behind his strikes. Given his thin body frame, the critical weakness in this regard is Martin's ability to counterpunch and land it in the body at crucial moments of an attack combo. A few good punches to the sternum and liver this way would put Marcucci in serious trouble. With their fight styles being complete opposites, it's going to be fun to watch, especially since it's going to be an 8-round fight, putting the ball in Marcucci's court if he can use it well. Will the Spaniard score a victory? Or will Marcucci leave behind yet another example of hope for the young children back home? Leave us a like and subscribe if you agree with our assessment of this showdown. We'll see you again when the dust settles on the canvas.